Kayana, this is Annalie. We're going to be doing the critical paradigm presentation for Module 6. Oh, hold on. What the heck? Hold on. Okay, one more time. I didn't know how to do that. Okay. Hi, I'm Kayana. This is Annalie. We're doing Module 6 of critical paradigm.
Okay, so the first theory that we were analyzing was conflict theory. The main idea of conflict theory is that there are different forces that exist within a society. So both forces should be able to be observed and analyzed at multiple levels. So this can be either in society or in family relationships. There's two different levels that we can examine. The first level is going to be the micro level. This can be examined as like conflicts or struggles within a family. It can also be examined as roles in a family. And then the second is the macro level, and this can be examined as status or class and the competition for resources. So more in depth on the micro level examination could be used to analyze how couples resolve differences, whether this be about children or like tasks around the house. And then in conflict theory, micro analyzation helps to confirm what leads to instability, as well as what steps are taken to manage households and create stability. And then at the macro level, examination can be used to analyze how governments and countries compete for resources. So this is more of like the society side. So these resources, could be oils, minerals, skilled labor, etc. And then in older societies, people who were born into these different levels of class were not able to move up. So if you were born into the lower class, you were not likely to move up to like the 1%. And many experts believe that if the conditions were right, many people would have been able to move up, but this would only be as a result of conflict. It is thought that human nature, specifically greed and self-interest, tend to produce conflict among groups and individuals. I don't know how to pronounce these names, but Nicolo and Thomas explain that humans continue to be in a constant state of conflict and self-greed until a power. So this power can be like a government or a type of control, like a hierarchy, is able to contain them. And then this is like they're able to be contained, and this is deemed by like rules and social conduct, and it's necessary to create a balance between society's needs. And then Karl Marx and George W.F. Hegel explained that that one of the only ways to balance power is by having equal access to all resources, political power. So that's basically just like the same opportunities between a lower class and a higher class, and they would be able to get the same resources and be able to get a hold of the same political power. Okay, and then the basic assumptions of conflict theory are that the nature of humans is that they're self-oriented. Societies operate under a perpetual scarcity of resources. Group dynamics are different in families than in other groups. Conflict is a confrontation over control of scarce resources, and then conflict has positive aspects. And then the primary terms and concepts are competition, conflict management, conflict resolution, consensus, negotiation and bargaining, power, assertion and aggression, and threats and promises.
So I did queer theory, and queer theory is the study of how gender, sexuality, heteronormativity, etc., affects the society around us. It's not necessarily a theory; it's more leaning towards society. It is a fact. And that's families with same-sex parents, children who identify as queer, the gender binary, and being transgender. Those are all part of a minority of people who get extremely discriminated against. Not only can these affect a family from the inside, but also a community. Not everyone has the same religious beliefs or morals, so not everyone agrees with being queer, technically. It shows that factors that feed into the heteronormativity and how society rules contributes to things that are not normal or things that are not okay, just because that's what society says. So it wasn't until 2015 when gay marriage was officially legalized in the United States in all 50 states. Before this, only a couple states officially legalized gay marriage, so this was a big breakthrough for the queer community. But same-sex marriage is still a topic being talked about, fought against, and being defended to this day. Just because it was legalized doesn't mean it went away. Queer people are at an extreme disadvantage in society because of religious beliefs and morals, like I said before. This also goes for individuals who identify as non-binary, so people who don't identify as a girl or a boy, or being transgender, people who transition to a different gender. So this is a quote from Burma. So queer theory takes spaces, people, and ideas and allows them to flourish free from hegemonic constraints. So basically, it allows people to express themselves freely and be who they are. So here's some laws and bills that affect LGBTQ plus rights. Not all of these were passed. Some of these were just written or talk in the United States. One of the most popular ones that people talk about is the Don't Say Gay bill that passed in Texas. So basically, in schools and classrooms, they were not allowed to talk about gender, sexuality, or anything until about 12th grade. So when people are 18. So there's another one in Florida prohibiting, oh wait, so I'm so sorry. That the one before was from Florida. Texas, that would make it a felony alongside physical and sexual abuse to provide gender affirming care to minors, people who want to transition, who want to go on pills, gender affirming surgery, all of that. So these are just some of the things that people who are part of the LGBTQ plus community that have to fight for. So some basic assumptions that fluidity and diversity in gender and sexual identity behaviors. Some families are more privileged than others due to society structures. So people who are heterosexual have more of an advantage. Reject labels. Not everyone wants to fall under the norm. So basically, girls have to like pink, boys have blue, all that. Some politics of identity need to be questioned. Just politics in general, normally. Sexuality and gender can be and are fluid. There's not just one thing that's correct. Some key terms is the LGBTQ plus community. So what does that mean? Lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, plus mean there's more. The binary, one or two. Heteronormativity, same sex, queer, and cisgender, meaning you identify as the gender you were born as. So this is intersectionality. So what is that? It's basically the inequality based on gender, race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, etc., meaning that you are not part of one minority, but two that face discrimination. So a lot of these can be people who are part of the LGBT plus community, who are women, Black, everything. So it falls under a giant umbrella term, you can think of it. So people will experience misogyny and racism, or just people who don't, like I said before, people who don't agree with the queer community. So this connects to queer theory, obviously. So individuals who are part of the community and who are Black have voiced their experiences with discrimination and how it can be worse than others. So here are some statistics. So 95% of Black LGBTQ plus individuals report that discrimination has affected their psychological well-being, and then 88% of white respondents reported the same. So not a huge difference, but there is still one there. And then 40% of Black LGBTQ plus individuals report avoiding the law enforcement to avoid experience discrimination, and that's 28% for white individuals. So that's almost half, or double that. And then this also goes for feminism as well. So obviously, misogyny that people face with the gender wage gap, just rights in general. It's not on the slides, but abortion rights, all that can't fall under feminism. So all women are subject to the wage gap, just some are affected even more due to their race. So some basic assumptions for intersectionality is individuals must negotiate various social identities. So those identities sometimes are together or separate. We are always changing, we are always evolving, and each group intersects with gender and sexual identities. So some key words throughout the lecture is going to be discrimination, minorities, the wage gap, racism, misogyny, disability, and identity.
Okay, family feminism theory. So feminism can be described as the search for rights, opportunities, and identities that women believe that they deserve. Feminism has specifically its history can be described in the terms of waves because of the ever so changing environment that this theory and feminism in general has to adapt to. So there are two waves that have finished and gone, and then there's a third wave that is not exactly on the slide, but I'll kind of talk a little bit about. That's like the more modernized feminism that's still ongoing today. So the first wave is was more focused on securing equal rights. So this was during the suffragist movement and during that time of like trying to gain the right to vote. So that was the primary goal, was to gain the right to vote. Other goals could include equal rights in education, employment in politics, etc. And then many people who had extreme opinions were moved kind of away from the suffragists, and they moved themselves away as well because the suffragists wanted to focus on their primary goal. And then gender is socially constructed rather than biologically driven. Sorry. That was said by Margaret Mead. And then the second wave was the more modern feminist movement. They worked towards resolution of issues like equal pay, job training for women, reproductive choices, having maternity leave, subsidized childcare, and then the end to sex discrimination. There were different branches of feminism during this time. So first was the liberal feminists, which spoke out against the subjection of women, specifically in careers. There was the Marxist feminists who focused mainly on reproductive issues and how solely being responsible for the reproduction of children will only lead to more oppression. There was also the radical feminists who focused on male dominance as a problem within society. And then there was the social feminists, or the socialist feminists, who focused on women's liberation. And then the cultural feminists who believe that we need to value and respect characteristics that are considered feminine instead of discriminating against characteristics that are considered masculine. By the 1980s, these branches kind of drifted away, and feminists began to focus on all issues, and that's kind of this third wave of feminism, which is the more modern feminism that we see now, where they're focusing as a whole group on many different issues, much of the same issues that are still going on, like equal pay, reproductive choices, sex discrimination, and all of that. But it's more of like a widespread group instead of just tiny little groups within feminism. And then to talk more about feminism in family as the feminism theory, structural functionalists were people who believed that structure worked best when men were considered the breadwinners and performed the instrumental tasks like getting a job, providing for the family, just basically making the money for the family. And then women were considered to perform the expressive tasks, which are being the caretakers, so cleaning the house, cooking the meals, caring for the children. But The Future of Marriage, which is a book by Jessie Bernard, opposed these views by saying that there were two types of marriages. There were his marriage and there were her marriage. So his marriage was the structural functionist view of marriage, and her marriage was a little bit different and more feminist take on what marriage should be. So it was basically saying that males dominate family intentionally and unintentionally. And when males dominate power in families, males benefit, but women do not. Feminist family theorists believe that male dominated power in families was natural and inevitable. And they try to analyze how families are influenced by social institutions and politics, and how social institution and politics kind of affect male dominance in family. So these are some basic assumptions and terms and concepts. So first, the basic assumptions are that women's experiences are essential to the understanding of families. Gender is a socially constructed concept. So basically saying that that gender and his or her is kind of it's sorry, I'm looking for the word. It's kind of like ruled by society in a way. And then social and historical contexts are important. So thinking back to what we talked about in the last slide, how feminism and the history of feminism kind of will give you a little bit more insight on the family feminism theory and male dominance in families. And there are many forms of families. There is an emphasis is placed on social change, and there is no objective or unbiased observation of humans. So the terms and concepts are sex, gender, feminist categorization, stratification, privilege, social deconstruction, social discourse, and praxis.
And these are our references, and that's it. So thank you.
Thank you.